Today is Thursday. It's Shiur, Tofshin Ayin Dalid, and we are in Teres Menachem Sefer Morim Tofshin Dalid Tofshin Yud Beis. The Maimer of Shabbos Pasha Shmini Mevorchem Chedesh Shiur Tofshin Yud Beis, and we are on page Ayin Reish Hey. Chapter 2. The Rebbe is explaining here the idea of the Livyasan, the Leviathan, which is, the Rebbe says, is a reference to Neshamas Yisrael. And the idea of Hashem creating the Livyasan, to play with the Livyasan, that is a reference to Hashem having pleasure from the Avodah, the service that the Neshamas Yisrael provide down here below when the Neshama is clothed in the body, which is a far greater pleasure for Hashem than the Neshama, the way it is up above before it comes down into the body, because of the fact that when the neshama comes into the body, even though it's at a lower level than the neshama the way it is above before it comes down, nevertheless, it is far more innovative for a neshama below to serve Hashem rather than a neshama up above, because a neshama up above is godliness, and it's mindful of godliness, aware of godliness, and therefore, that's not anything new or special. Whereas the neshama down here, that is something new and special. I've explained the 3 segments of the day, of Hashem's day. That in the 4th segment, Hashem sits and derives pleasure from the Leviathan, which is the idea of the neshamas down here below, which comes as a result of the 3 preceding aspects of Hashem's day. Learning Torah, judging the world, and providing sustenance for the world. Chapter 2. With this we will understand Masha Amr Razal, that which our sages say in the Medrash. La'osid lavoi, in the time to come, Oisa HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Tzadikim Knigya im Livyasan Asher Abar. Hashem will make a chase, will organize a chase with the Leviathan and the wild ox, like a hunt. The Livyasan Yishchet L'Asher Abar B'Snapirov, and the Leviathan, the Livyasan, will slaughter the wild ox, with its fins. What does all this mean? What's the symbolism here? The Alter Rebbe explains in the difference between the Leviathan and the wild ox. What is this in the spiritual sense? The Leviathan is from the creatures in the sea, a sea creature. And the wild ox is a land creature, is among the land creatures. Now that I'm going to explain what is the difference between the land creatures and the sea creatures. The top of Reish involve the creatures of the sea are not separate from their source. Because as soon as they come up to the dry land, which means they exit the sea, which is the source of their life, miyad mesim, they die immediately. And they're swallowed up, they're submerged, they're always submerged in their source. Not only is it that when they separate from the source of their life, they die instantly, and their entire existence is only when they are within their source. So in addition to that, even when they do exist inside their source, they are not a separate existence on their own. But their entire existence is actually their life source. Where do we see this? As is explained in another place of Chassidus, the reasoning of Rab Shimon ben Gamliel's opinion, that whatever is in the sea does not is not a barrier. What does that mean? The Mishnah says in mikvahs that if you want to connect two mikvahs, which each one of them doesn't have a full shiur, a full measure that a mikvah needs, there needs to be a connector, a gap, a hole, which is as wide as shveferes hanoid, which I believe is translated in English as a skin bottle. It's like these water bottles that the skin bottle.
Bottles.
Sorry?
That's what they used to make bottles out of.
Bottles out of skin. So the spout of the skin bottle, that's how I think it's 2 fingers width. So the connecting hole between the two mikvahs has to be the width of a skin bottle, of the spout of a skin bottle. What happens if there's something if it is a shiur, and in other words, it is the width of the spout of a skin bottle, but there's something there that got fixed to the side, which causes the gap to be narrowed. So Rav Shimon Gamliel says, the Mishnah says that all different sorts of things, chaytzitz, they cause the gap to be narrowed, and it's considered as if it's not wide enough. Rav Shimon Gamliel says if it's anything from the sea, it does not constitute a chtzitza. It doesn't cause a barrier. It's considered as if the gap is still wide enough. Why is that? So Chassidus explains the hagam shein bruim shebiyam, even though they are creatures of the sea. What does that mean, creatures of the sea? They're not the actual sea. They're creatures of the sea, right? Which means there is some kind of an existence that was created from the water. So in other words, it is a separate existence. So why is it not considered a chtzitza, a barrier? Nevertheless, their entire existence is the water itself. Therefore, they don't constitute a barrier. So in other words, the identity of the sea creatures is so much intertwined with the water that it's considered like the water itself, like the sea itself. This is not the case when we talk about land creatures. So although everything, all the creatures on the earth come from the dust of the earth, Hainu, that the dust of the earth is their source. Nevertheless, they could be separated from their source temporarily, even though everything returns to the earth. But temporarily they exist on their own. They could be, at least temporarily, they could exist in the air. And not only that, even when they do exist on top of the earth, they are not part of the existence of the earth, but rather they are a separate existence. What is it in the nimshal, in the moral? So in other words, land creatures and sea creatures are symbols and metaphors in this context for souls from the world, the concealed world, Alma de Iskasia, the concealed world, which the Rebbe is going to say is what? Are neshamas from the realm of Atzilus, and even neshamas from the realm of Bria, because Bria relative to Yetzirah is machshava, thought relative to speech, and thought is more concealed. So the sea creatures are neshamas from the concealed world, souls from the concealed world, and the land creatures are neshamas from the revealed world. The Rebbe articulates this, the Rebbe explains this. The souls from the concealed world, they're always submerged and swallowed up in their source. What does that mean in the spiritual sense? They constantly feel their source, they always feel their source, Hashem. And their entire existence is the existence of the source. This is not the case when we talk about souls from the revealed world. Although they understand and they comprehend, they grasp that their entire existence is as a result. They only exist because of the source. Nonetheless, they're not in a state of total bittul, total nullification. Total bittul is specifically only insofar as souls from the concealed world are concerned. For because they constantly and always feel their source consciously, they are in a state of total bittul, absolute total bittul. As Rashbi, who said about himself, I am but a sign, I am just a marker for godliness, I am nothing. My whole existence is what? Is the godliness which is my source and which I feel. Rashbi was in the state of total nullification to his source. And because of the fact that he is in a state of nullification to his source in a manner that his entire existence is the existence of the source, then he is truly a great existence. Even though, in other words, what does it mean I'm but a sign, but a marker? Insofar as I have any separate identity, that's just a marker. I have no separate identity. My entire being has now been, superimposed or transposed with what? With the existence of the source. So therefore, a being that is totally bottled of its own identity and has now become totally identified with the source is really and truly a great existence. This is also true for all the souls from the concealed world. They are what's called sea creatures, fish of the sea. What does that mean, fish of the sea? Shem tomid dvukim belakus. Nun yama means the sea of the fish, which means that they always cleave to godliness. So maybe Belakut Torah dugum ledavar, and Belakut Torah he brings an example for someone of this type. Ukigay Rashbi, for example, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Today I was going on to bring another few examples, but for that we'll Mitzvah Hashem continue tomorrow.